Hello, everybody. Welcome to Talk About House. I'm Todd.
I'm Juana.
Okay, the nation's largest single-family rental landlord.
That would be us.
That's us. We're second largest. Is buying up to $1 billion in houses this year.
Okay.
A billion with a B. Mm-hmm. That's quite a bit. We're going to go through the article, and then this is all from Invitations Homes' fourth quarter of their annual report, mm-hmm. where they talked about what they're going to do this year. Mm-hmm. And there's some stuff in here that's pretty interesting. And then we have a chart that we're going to show you because we know this gets a lot of people going when they hear about Wall Street buying up all the houses, right? And then they can't buy them because Wall Street somehow bought them. But we're going to talk about that. We're going to go into detail about that. And it'll be fun. We actually talked about this in 2010, I think. Mm-hmm. Remember, we did a video where we talked, or maybe it was 11, about how this is what was going to happen. Mm-hmm. Wall Street firms would come in, buy houses, and then they would never come back in the MLS or just come back individually for sale to average people. Why is that?
Right. So these houses are being purchased in LLCs, and then when somebody like Invitation Homes or BlackRock or some sort of other fund goes ahead and wants to liquidate those homes, they do not sell them in onesies, they sell the entire block. So they sell the LLC to another investor, and then those homes just get transferred. Now, the beauty of that is that their cost to sell those homes is very limited, so they don't have to pay realtor fees for each individual home. They don't have to pay all the other costs associated with selling individual homes. And then on top of that, they're not in any way cannibalizing the market value of these homes, right? Because these homes are not being sold in onesies. You can't see that the value of the individual homes through the MLS or the tax record or anything like that. So again, that protects the remaining part of their investment. So all kinds of good reasons why they would do that. And then of course, there's the value of time, right? These homes are being sold in a block, so they're getting the cash in a block. They're not having to wait for this home closing next week, this home closing next month, this home's still on the market, doesn't have any offers. They have the opportunity to get all of their money on the front end just by turning over the paper.
Here's a quote from the article. Invitation Homes wants to increase the size of its 80,000 mm-hmm. single-family rental portfolio by acquiring $600 million to $1 billion of houses this year, with additional $100 to $300 million in purchases through its joint ventures. In 2023, Invitations Home and its joint venture partners bought $1.1 billion of houses, totaling more than 3,200 units. Now, remember, there was a deal in Vegas that came out that was in like July or August that we didn't find out about for a few months, mm-hmm. where they sold like 1,700 houses here in Vegas, literally by just saying, oh, you own these 1,700 houses in Vegas now, here you go. And we don't have to, because there was this theory that the housing market would crash when the institutional investors dumped them all on the market, thinking they would go back out and like hire call agents and then somehow sell, like put these in the MLS and sell them, which would be dumb because that's a pretty expensive way to do it. It works. It's the efficient way for one person to do it. Mm-hmm. To get the most money. But if you have a lot of homes to sell and you want the money tomorrow, you don't have time to wait 30, 60, 90 days mm-hmm. or whatever. You just tell somebody, hey, these houses are worth $126 million. For $120 million their years, you get $6 million worth of equity. Mm-hmm. Equity.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, it seems fair. Okay.
Here's another quote. Invitation Homes expects comparable revenue growth between 4.5% this year after posting a 6.5% comparable revenue growth fiscal 23. This is revenue growth. This is not their ROI or anything. The company is planning for its operating expenses to decrease from 10.3% fiscal 2023 to 5.5%, 7% this year. All these houses are rentals. Mm-hmm. So talk about revenue growth is just because two things are going to happen for them to get more revenue. What are the two things that are going to happen?
Well, so the first part is going to be, of course, rent growth.
Rent is going to grow. Right, okay, that's one way to grow revenue.
Right. And then, of course, the other is that they're going to have equity that is going to continue to build.
Okay, but we're talking about revenue. They're going to purchase more homes.
Right.
to create more rentals. They're
Right.
just going to generate more revenue, right? This
Yes.
this is none of this includes the probably billions of dollars they've made in appreciation on these homes. Because remember, they've been buying these homes for over a decade.
Right.
We know for sure they have homes that have at least doubled because we were buying homes at the trustee sale. And they were our competition. Invitation Homes was down there
Right. But see,
competing.
the appreciation, I think, is valuable to consider as well, because when they go out the market to borrow money to buy additional homes, then that's they're borrowing against that equity, which is now greater than the price at which they purchased these homes.
Yeah, there's no question. The other thing that they do, and it talks about here, is they're decreasing their expenses. They have a management company set in place. How does that work? What is that? Why do they need a management company?
Well, so they have a lot of homes to manage,
Okay.
and it's much more efficient and cost effective if they have a management company in place that handles all that. And on top of that, they can get a better grip on their costs and understand their market trends and understand the value of their portfolio, have just a much better handle on all of their costs and their appreciation going forward by having control of this management company.
Now, Invitation Homes also they are just a property manager.
Right.
So you can hire them, I guess, if you own like 10 properties and say, can you manage them for me, right?
Yeah,
And they'll charge
I
you a
don't
fee.
know if they do onesies. I don't know if they do that. I think that they just do like bigger investors.
Right, but they do manage for other people. And
Right.
it may be, I don't know what the size is, but they
Right.
definitely are doing property management more than just,
Right.
and they may do onesies, but they just charge a higher percent or whatever.
Maybe they do.
Okay, so I'm going to jump right to this chart really quick because a lot of people are upset. I can tell right now the amount of anger that's going to be in the comments from people saying, they're driving up home prices. Those guys, okay.
Are there pitchforks out there?
Pitchforks are out there. This is a chart. This is the number of investor purchases by size of investor. And this does not mean by how much the investor weighs. This is by the number of properties the investor owns, okay? Now, at the very top in the dark blue, those are iBuyers. Those are just the flipper buyers. They buy and they flip. They don't hold them. Then you have the next tier 4, which is they have over 1,000 properties. Invitation Homes, BlackRock, a bunch of companies like that, right? They're that blue. And you can see on this chart, if you go all the way back to the left, that's 2004. They really weren't buying any. This picked up in about 12, 13, right when our trustee sale ran out because of a video we made where they saw it and they said, Todd and Juana have a great idea. We're going to do this. We literally called this, okay? Now, when you get all the way down to that bottom, that light gray, where the little red box is, that's mom and pops. That's what we call them. 1 to 9. They own 1 to 9 homes, right? That's literally, if you look at this chart, by far the largest investor.
Right.
It is not that these hedge funds have come in and bought all the houses. They certainly haven't. Actually, average people that just buy a few homes this is numbers of homes, have far more homes than the hedge funds have. It's not even close.
Right.
So let's talk about that because I think it's a blame. I think people want to blame, I can't buy a house because they want to blame the hedge fund.
I think it's not going to be very popular, but
Say it, because I was going to say it if you don't say it.
I think it's because people want to place responsibility elsewhere rather than the person in the mirror.
Okay, yeah. They didn't, a lot of people want to go back in time and buy a house under old interest rates and old home prices. And until that happens, they're not going to buy. And they've sort of, you can't go back in time and buy a house. I'd love to go back to 1972 and buy a super nice house in Coronado in San Diego, right? Wouldn't that be awesome? For probably $75,000. House today would probably be worth $6 million, like a big house, right? With a big lot. Probably be worth $6 million today, that $75,000 house in Coronado. If you don't know what Coronado is, that little island that's in the Bay of San Diego where the Navy has a if you saw the Top Gun movie, that's where they filmed it there and everything. Super expensive now. It's crazy expensive. You can't go back in time and do that. You can't go back to 2 years ago and get 2.5% interest rates. If you have those rates, that's great. If you bought a house in 1972 in Coronado, that's fantastic. But today is you're buying today. And the problem is for average people, this doesn't pencil. Like buying a rental house and putting 3% down and trying to cash flow it, right? I mean, literally this penciled not that many years ago. You could go out and buy properties all day long and they almost cash flowed with almost nothing down, right?
I was still taking about 25% down to make it happen.
Right. But I mean, if you'd bought a house 25% down 10 years ago, after 2 or 3 years, you were making a killing because the home had appreciated, rents had gone up and everything. Right. Like you were really in the money, okay? All right, here's another quote from the article. In fiscal 2023, which was last year, Invitation Homes portfolio was 97.4% occupied, okay? With comparable rental rates increasing 6.3%, including renewals and new leases from the prior year. This almost exactly matches inflation data, which we knew rents were up 6%. This corroborates those numbers. We've had people jump in the comments and say, but Todd, rents are falling. They're falling. Well, they're not falling, clearly. And then also this other thing is the vacant homes. All these homes are vacant. They're getting ready. They're going to flood the market. I think the problem is they're watching these other YouTubers that they just make stuff up. It's entertainment, right? And conspiracy theory sort of videos. And with a 97.4% occupancy rate, that's literally 100%. Why is that? Why does that might as well be 100%?
Well, because you have turn, right? In between tenants, you have to get the property cleaned up, maybe make some repairs, some improvements. And that's just the natural cycle of renting property. So you're right, 97% is 100%.
Tell them about the property we had where we literally had zero occupancy. One tenant was moving out and the same day we had the new tenant show up to do the walkthrough and we just handed the key and it was literally like vacant for an hour.
Technically not even that, because literally as one tenant walked out, the other one said hi as they were walking in.
Right, and there was not even a day of missed rent, right? Like it was, your rent ends today, your rent starts today.
Yep.
We've actually had landlords where, and I don't know, but this is contractual. They actually got double rent for a little while because the person said, I really want to move in as soon as possible. And the tenant moved out early. Right. And then there was a couple days they owned they were still paying rent because the lease wasn't up. Right. But they said, I just need to get out early. You can keep the money. Right. And then the landlord said, okay, I'm putting the new person in. Right. And just put them in, right? Yeah. Okay, here's another quote. The company's various joint ventures sold 1,489 homes for $547 million last year. As it continues to upgrade its portfolio, Invitation Homes plan to continue to acquire newly built houses this year from Pulte Group, as other home builders have said. So another theory, this is housing crash theory number 171, was that the new home builders would build so many homes, they would flood the market, and there would be so many homes available for purchase, home prices would drop. But apparently a lot of these newly built homes already have, they've signed agreements to build the homes pre even anything, just like, hey, go build a subdivision, we'll buy the whole thing. Right, so this is not unusual. We do see a lot of these institutional investors that are going out to the home builders saying, build me a subdivision, I'm buying the whole thing. So a lot of these times when you're driving around and you see homes being built, there's no sales office, you don't see people living there. We're like, oh my gosh, these are the vacant homes that are going to flood the market. They're just building like crazy for no reason. But they don't build that, right? Yeah. Like literally, probably 95 to 98% of all new home construction, the second it's done and could be occupied, at some point prior to that, it's already been purchased. Correct. Like they already have a contract and everything. Correct. I mean, there's very little actual standing inventory. They'll call standing inventory something that isn't quite finished yet. Right. But something that is completely finished and all you got to do is move in, there's very little of that. Okay. Where does this leave us for, because, we have this massive amount of housing that's locked up. It's not going anywhere. It's probably 95% of all homes. There's zero chance they will transact. They're investors. Oh, let's talk about this too before we talk about that. These homes will never, ever, ever, probably ever come back on the market.
Wow.
What is going on here? Like these homes are, you have people that have owned long-term rentals and are never selling them. You have people with super low interest rates that are like, the people like we know that bought the multi-million-dollar house and their rate was like 0.9%. Remember that? It was under 1% was their interest rate. And it was like a couple $1 million, right? People like that aren't really interested in extinguishing that.
I understand your point that these homes are not coming back on the market ever. You're right. They're not coming back on the market as onesies.
Right.
They will come on the market as part of some kind of package and that sort of thing. So yes, they will. As far as the mom and pop investors, those homes, they will probably resurface on the market sometime in the future, probably if there's a life event and maybe an estate has to be liquidated. So that would be a circumstance under which a mom and pop owned property would come on the market. But you're right, most of them will not come on the market as onesies.
Right. Anyway, I thought this was interesting data. I don't see this, subsiding. I think these institutional investors will keep buying, especially since they're growing revenue and they're reducing their costs. They kind of have this pretty nice thing. They are not all over the country. They basically have cherry-picked some markets. I think what's going to happen is, remember, these companies have very large pools of analysts.
They do.
What do the analysts do?
They look at the markets, they look at the trends, they look at demographics, they look at all kinds of things. And something you and I were discussing is that with AI really taking off, there's this feeling out there that AI will help these types of investors maximize their capacity to identify and capitalize on emerging markets in real estate. And what I mean by that is, in real time, you've got an AI that will be trained to identify demographics, trends, rental prices, home prices, maybe economic trends in a market, all kinds of different things in a market. Consider all that and continually put out where to buy homes, and not only where to buy, but specifically which homes to buy, really down to the particular property, and have this whole huge justification as to why this property is better than the property 2 blocks away. And I think you're going to see that with AI models, because there's so much money in this, and these people understand the value of data, and having these AIs models contribute to this effort makes a lot of sense.
If you have $1 billion of assets and you can be just 1% more accurate, that's why they have analysts. If you just be 1% more accurate, that's $10 million.
Right.
Yeah, it's $10 million. So the more, if you can, squeeze out a couple, 10, 20 million bucks per billion, that's a ton, because your profit their profit margins they're probably, from their original investment, they're probably getting 15% ROI on their original investments, because the home price appreciated, the rents have gone up. And like they said, they have revenue growth because rents are going up every year.
Well, one of the things that they were talking about with Invitation Homes is that they're reducing their costs, and they're not reducing their costs by a little, but by a significant amount. And I think that technology and data is part of that formula to reduce the cost.
Yeah.
So hopefully this was interesting. Please remember to like the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share your real estate related comments. We appreciate them, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.
Bye.